Okay, and welcome back. Still Tina Zahara. Still. Okay, so here's the deal. This, I am, by the way, just so you know that I'm not stacking the deck. If I can, I can't do it. I'm shuffling the cards in that I had just pulled out for the last class. And I am flipping them upside down every so often and shuffling them back in and shuffling some more and flipping them upside down and shuffling them back in. By now, you guys have been through almost all the deck. We just have the Pentacles to go. So you should be pretty familiar. I hope you guys have actually been taking notes, and I hope you guys have been typing up your notes and doing your 24s and all the rest of it, you know, so that you can keep up a little bit better with this. This reading is about a real person. I'm not going to use this real person's name. She's a lovely woman who's in a very difficult situation, or rather was. But I want you guys to see the way these things actually look in tarot cards when you run across them, because you always have to, I always do at least, when someone calls me up with some really hair-raising story, I'm always like, yeah, whatever, right? Like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, you know? I think I learned that from my dad, the shrink, who's like, well, you know, there's subjective and objective reality, you know, what is it that you perceive and what's actually true? So you have to always kind of take the really crazy stories with a grain of salt until you have seen it yourself. And chances are, unless it's just a serial killer or something like that, right? I'll tell you guys an interesting story in a minute about that. It won't look like what you would think it would look like. It won't look like 100% bad. Or something, a great love affair that's starting won't look like 100% good. Nothing is ever that simple. Tarot doesn't really work that way. And the world doesn't really work that way because nothing is 100% good or 100% bad. Case in point, a woman came to me back when I was reading in a bookstore. Years ago, I had a little office in the back of a bookstore. And this girl comes in and she wants a reading about her band. And I pull cards and I'm like, girl, I don't know what's going on here, but you've got problems. You've got a very real problem, and the cards don't want to talk about your band. They want to talk about your very real problem. Who is this guy? You're being stalked. And she goes, yeah, I know. And I'm like, no, it's not, yeah, I know. You're in trouble. Like, this guy is going to do something terrible to you, and it's coming fast. You've got about 3 weeks to move, change your phone number, and get a different job, and get where this guy cannot get to you. But, you know, she wanted to know about her band. She wasn't listening. I begged her. And in the end, I didn't even take her money, you know, because she wouldn't listen to me. And I was trying to save her from herself, but she didn't want to be saved. So what could I do? You know, I just said, well, you know, I wasn't able to see anything about your band because that's not what the cards wanted to talk about. They wanted to talk about this guy. And since you don't want to, then, sorry, I'm having a bad hair day. And since you don't want to, then, you know, let's just call it even and I won't charge you. So sure enough, about 4 weeks later, she shows up. I see her. I'm in between readings. I'm running back and forth. And I just stopped like, what? You gotta be kidding me. Her face was beat up. She had stitches all over her face, all over her head. Her hair had been chopped off with probably gardening shears or something, whatever. And I go up to her and like, I wanted to shake her and go, I tried to warn you. I tried so hard to warn you. Why didn't you listen? But of course, like, what good is that going to do after the fact? That's not a very nice thing to do. So I just like looked at her and just tears started coming out of my eyes. And I just said, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. And she said, no, this has been a long time coming. At least it's over with now. I was like, what happened? It turns out there was a guy that was in LA impersonating David Lee Roth. And I actually met the guy a couple of times. Saw him myself a couple of times, and I believed it was him too. But it turns out he's about a foot shorter, but whatever. He looked so much like David Lee Roth that we all believed he was David Lee Roth from Van Halen, in case you don't know. And he was a crackhead. And he went on a bender and he abducted her and he beat her and he raped her and held her for 3 days and cut her up and just beat her senseless and then just threw her away. Like 3 days later, okay, I'm done with you, and threw her away. Like, even that situation, you could see that it was very real danger. You could see that there was something really, really bad coming to this girl. But it didn't show as all bad. Maybe it was because she didn't see it as all bad. Maybe it was because she was in denial. But I don't think so, because the only times I've ever seen the cards, here's a good example, another one that is a true story. This woman at a place I was working was getting readings from everybody, right? But she was avoiding me because I've always had a reputation for like, look, you asked the question. You can't get mad at me for answering it. You know, if you don't like the answer, if you're not ready to hear the truth, then don't ask the question, right? And I had that reputation, so I think she was deliberately avoiding me. But when she ran out of other readers, she finally came to me and she said, oh, I'm going to, I'm going to make up, I don't know that she won't see this at some point. I don't want to out her in any way. I'm going to move to, I don't know, Santa Fe to be with my soulmate, let's say John, right? And I'm looking at this thing and it is perfect, spot on, perfect. Everything was perfect. And I'm like, I'm not buying it. I don't believe this. Nothing is perfect like that. And I go, let me just take a wild guess here. I bet you I would recognize this guy's last name, wouldn't I? And she started yabbity, 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 tell me what it is. And just for the sake of argument here, we're going to just say it's John Bon Jovi. It wasn't, by the way, it wasn't. But let's just say John Bon Jovi, right? And she goes, yeah, he's my soulmate. Well, this woman, like, look, we've all put on a lot of weight, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, whatever. You know, I'm not going to body shame her for being a little overweight. I can she was, you know, she had kind of hag hair. She didn't do anything with her hair. She had big gray roots. She padded around in like really ratty looking clothes and stuff. And I'm like, there's no way that a rock star of the caliber of the person that we're talking about, not John Bon Jovi, although he is in the John Bon Jovi kind of league, would really notice her, besides the fact that he's already happily married, but we'll ignore that altogether too. And she said, no, I'm going. And I was like, I wouldn't go. This is too perfect. There's something really, really off here. And I wouldn't do it. She's like, well, too late. I'm going to sell everything and I'm going. And she did. She sold everything she owned and she went. I think it took 2 weeks before he had her arrested, got a restraining order, and the police in the city put her on an airplane and sent her back to California. like, don't ever make contact with him again or you're going to jail next time. And she came back heartbroken and broke and everything else. You gotta keep your eye out for these little tricks. These things do happen. If a person believes with their whole heart, and the only people that believe anything with their whole heart are generally dealing with some level of delusion. Maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's a lot, but nothing is ever 100% good and nothing is ever 100% bad. So that's the precursor I'm going to give you before I pull the cards. I'm going to rearrange the camera and we will come right back. Okay, so let's call our Reedy, let's call her Tiffany, because she's a pretty girl. We'll call her Tiffany. Tiffany is married to, let's call him Joe. And Joe has a son, and let's call Joe's son Jeff. Okay? So she called me up saying that her stepson is crazy and that he's trying to hurt her. And it wasn't that I didn't believe her at all, but I just didn't completely believe her until I really got into it. And then I could see, because again, like, it wasn't all good. So let's say, in this case, what is the truth about how Jeff feels about Tiffany? Okay? And I'm going to have to do this upside down for you guys. Okay. And we cut the deck into 3 piles to the left. Okay. And so it would go, how does Jeff feel about Tiffany? Okay, can you see all that? I hope you can see all that. Okay. So you can see here that, because it's facing you guys, right? It's not, I'm reading it upside down, right? That there was a joy there at one time that doesn't seem to be there anymore. That's like leaving maybe like a phantom memory of it or something, right? And he's kind of all over the place. He probably does a lot of fantasizing and thinking about the situation. He does not feel like he is in control at this point. He's just kind of maybe taking a wait and see, a sort of slow moving kind of attitude. He, I think, would like to have more access to her through the phone than he has at this time. And so he's kind of trying to get from his mother, some sort of comfort and solace from the situation. But she has shut down on him. She and his father seem to be fine. They seem to be fine, and he seems to be out of the picture. He is in college now. He was being a little psychopath towards her. And he was doing things like putting Nair in her shampoo and, probably putting X-Lax in her chocolate, in her hot chocolate or something. He was doing these kind of like, sneaky, nasty, mean little things, because he's, as far as I'm concerned and as far as she's concerned, he is a serial killer in the making, but not really. Like, I don't think he's really got the stones to do it. And I don't think that his brand of arrogance is the same brand of arrogance you see in these serial killers who, like, dare the police to catch them. Like, oh, I'm too smart, you'll never catch me, blah, 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 blah. But it is to say that this kid has had really, really bad thoughts, not just about her, but about other people. And see how it doesn't look that bad. Like, this doesn't look that bad. When he went off to college, they moved. And she just cut him off, and she has no intention of ever seeing him again. And I think that makes him really sad, because I believe that, well, let's let the cards do the talking instead of me doing it. So why is it that Jeff, and we all know who Jeff is for real, what is the truth about why Jeff seems to want to use her, to, I don't know, hone his craft or whatever it is that he's trying to do, right? Cutting the deck. And I'm going to pull from the middle because I didn't shuffle very much. Okay. Oh. I'm going to throw this over here on the side because it came out accidentally. Now, what were we just saying about that Ace of Swords? I mean, he met her when he was a little boy, but he didn't stay a little boy forever. He's in college now. Ah, there you see. I mean, he's got a weird kind of crush on her. Like a very Ace of Swords kind of crush, if you know what I mean, on her. And he can't seem to let it go. Again, there's your swords that we were talking about earlier. And he can't seem to let it go. And so instead, it putrefies. It turns nasty, like how mold grows in the dark, right? And he knows what she is. Like, he knows that she's a lovely person, and he knows he's not. So, never the twain may meet here. And it was just kind of his way of, I don't know, trying to hold on to her in some way, because in some weird, twisted kind of way, he was like in love with his dad's wife. Creepy. Okay. But let's look at this about the same kid, the same Jeff monster. Notice what came out, right? Because there were a bunch of little things that he did, a bunch of little betrayals that he inflicted on her. Some not so little, some little. I think they probably got worse as he got older. I've only been in the picture for about 2 or 3 years, so I don't know what happened before then. Okay. What is the truth about how Jeff feels about women? Not even just Tiffany, but women. What is the truth about how Jeff feels about Tiffany? Excuse me, women. None of that looks very good, does it? That doesn't look like the kind of guy you'd want your daughter dating, does it? It's like this right here is just like, he's full of crap. He doesn't feel like he needs to be honest with anybody because he would get disempowered, and he's not going to let anyone disempower him. And he doesn't really want any real mature connection. He wants for himself and himself alone. The hermit reversed. He doesn't see them as people that he enjoys. He doesn't like necessarily enjoy their company. He sure doesn't want to have to spend his money on them. And, you know, he feels like he just can't win except by playing hot shot. Like, I'm a hot shot, my daddy's rich. And, you know, I don't know all of their financial stuff, but I think the father does have some money, but he's not like filthy rich kind of guy either. So, but the kid wants to play off like he's a rich man's son and like he's some kind of trust fund baby that he's not. Okay, but again, it doesn't look that bad, but it sure doesn't look good. Like, you don't have like the devil and all the really nasty ones, you know? But there's nothing that's really good here either. There's nothing here that says, I really like the company of women, or I love the way women's hair smells, or anything that would be pleasant. If you see where I'm going with this? Okay, let's look at let me think about which direction I want to go with this. Okay, what is the truth about what Jeff would like to do to the women on campus that he doesn't feel like he's got any shot with to date or basically to have sex with? Like, what does he want to do with the, the prettiest girls, the girls from the richest families, the girls that are the most desirable to him? What does he want to do with these women? Ooh, what were we talking about? Now there's your devil. Okay? See how the deeper you get into it, the nastier it looks. But it's not like you've got the Ten of Swords and the devil and the tower and the death card and, you know what I'm saying? We've only pulled one really bad one here. But what it is he doesn't see that they are going to give him anything, so he doesn't want to give anything to them. Like, instead of a normal guy who would be like, well, I don't really have much of a shot with these girls, so I better come skidding into home with something substantial, something of value, which doesn't have to be financial value, obviously. It can be something of emotional value or aesthetic value or something else, right? But nope. He's just not there. He just wants to take his power back from them. He doesn't want them to have the power. He wants to have it and have them behave themselves for him. That is a little creepy, stalkery, serial killery, wannabe rapisty. It's icky. And, what he wants to do is he wants to play dumb. He wants to say as little as possible. He wants to come across as this big machismo. He wants to hide his real intents. He doesn't want to actually care about them. He wants to possess them. He wants ownership. He wants control. Like, this is creepy stuff. This is, when you're looking at someone really creepy, this is what it looks like. It doesn't look like what you would think. So, and I think that's by design. I know certainly my first job as a psychic was on the phone, but I worked, in person for, I don't know, 11 years, 10, 11, 12, I don't know, however many years, where the person was sitting on the other side of the table. And if it would have been the devil, the tower, and all the really ugly, scary looking cards, the client would have freaked out. Like, the cards aren't trying to freak the client out. They're just trying to tell me what I need to know to be able to help the client. So I get that. And so you have to keep that in mind. You should always just look at the spread. Just look at the spread. Does the spread look like a happy spread? Does it look like a sad spread? Is there anything about the spread that jumps out at you? Like, that, I don't know, that all the cards are reversed, or that there are no majors, or, that there's this side of the spread tells one story and this side of the spread tells another story, which you see very, very often. And when that's the case, where this tells one story and this tells the opposite story, this card, whether it's right side up or reversed, will tell you, like, which side is more dominant, right? So, like, let's say these are all good and these are bad, right? You're going to have one more good card, so it's tilting in that direction, but it's not a foregone conclusion. But you want to just kind of look at the spread, see what it looks like, and then, after you've just kind of gotten a feel for just, like, what are the colors, how many cards are upside down, how many are right side up, how many majors, how many big cards, how many little cards, how many court cards. And once you've kind of, like, run through all that stuff in your head, then you want to sit down and you want to go card by card and kind of try and figure out what the spread is trying to tell you, right? Okay. And now, we already know the answer to this, but I want to see what it's going to look like in cards for you guys, so I'm going to pull cards on it anyways. What advice would you give Tiffany? What is the truth? about what advice you would give Tiffany with regard to her relationship with Jeff. What advice would you give her with regard to her relationship with Jeff? Look at that. That tells you everything you need to know. You don't need to go another step further, right? It's like, you don't have to make nice with him. You don't have to engage with him at all. You know, you just carry the burden that he's laid on you. You're totally capable of it. It's manageable. It's not fun, but it's manageable. And keep your distance. Because if you don't, it's going to go there. And she's going to blow. She'll blow. She'll be the one that blows. He'll be calm. She'll be the one that blows because he's the one that's gotten away with murder, and she's the one that knows that he's gotten away with murder and is not happy about it. And so, you know, so what they're basically telling her is keep your own counsel. You don't need to say everything that you know, right? You stick with your husband, let him deal with him, and, you know, let Joe deal with Jeff. And you just deal with Joe. And where Jeff is concerned, just keep your distance. Just keep your distance. And if you absolutely run into him somehow that is unavoidable, make sure that you say something that's vile enough that he won't want to, that he just won't want to deal with you anymore. I would say that that's what that is. And mostly just leave him alone. This kid's not, he's too old to show as a page. He's in his third year of college. He's too old to show as a page. But he does show as a page because he's a little bit nuts and he's really not right. And when I say nuts, I don't mean that like to like disparage people who have a diagnosis of or something. I mean it in terms of this kid is a mean little monster. He's not that little, but he's a mean monster and he just doesn't think right. And that's that. And she just is best off keeping her distance, being lovely, dealing with her husband, and leaving him alone. So if you notice, as we have pulled cards, we've gotten the Ten of Rods, we've gotten the Devil, we've gotten the Moon, we've gotten the Tower. We've gotten all the cards, but we haven't gotten them all in one spread. Again, this is, if you think about the origin of tarot, or at least everybody has their own theory. I learned it as it was a way of transporting esoteric knowledge without anybody knowing that it's esoteric knowledge. They just think it's a, you know, it's a card game and whatever. And they're still being esoteric. Like, they're telling me, I get it, but someone who doesn't know how to read tarot won't get that. Someone who doesn't understand the whole system and how the system works wouldn't get it. But you're supposed to. That's my job. Is to teach you guys how to get these things. So, I hope this gave you a little bit of insight. If anybody has like a situation that they want to see in tarot, and I don't mean suck-free readings, but I mean like something like this, you know, where she had all these suspicions, but nobody ever really caught him doing any of it, you know? And she just needed to know whether she was crazy or whether he was, you know? Like, is she imagining it or is he actually doing it? You know what I'm saying? Something more along those lines. You know, go ahead and contact me through Tarotzahara at gmail.com. And maybe we could use yours. We only have one more class or two if I divide the Pentacles up into 2 classes. So if you want me to bring something up, you're going to have to get to me soon. So I hope you learned something. Like, subscribe, share, all that other good stuff. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you.